Hey y'all. So since becoming more active on Friends of Figma and kind of engaging with different tips and tricks, I thought it'd be cool to just document some of the neat tips and tricks discovered and share it more publicly. So the first question here comes from Luca. He says, "Hey friends, how would you create a button that stays the same size as the text entered, but can have state switch to loading? I'm going crazy." So he also provides this image. So you can see the initial button, he just wants the user to pick some style. Then when they enter text inside the button's going to resize to hug the contents of that frame. And then when the user changes the state from default to loading, he wants the text to be removed in lieu of some sort of loading icon in the center, and the button does not change in size. And so just showing what trouble he's running into. So if this is the button in an auto layout container, I'll just add a quick background, some rounding. You'll see if I edit the text, obviously it's going to hug the contents. But if I want to also add in this icon somehow and try to balance it, I have no way to just put it in the center within the auto layout frame, because without the auto layout frame, my text is not, or my button is not going to resize with respect to the text. And if I try to make this opacity 0, the icon is not going to the center. If I hide it, the button is going to resize to hug that loading icon. So that's the dilemma we have. And so before diving into my little Figma hack, I do want to note that Mr. Biscuit down here gave an interesting solution, which isn't actually released on Figma. So that's noted here. So Mr. Biscuit used an unreleased Figma feature, which is really cool, and I did want to bring attention to it because it'll show what might be coming and just what's going to be capable within Figma. So what he did actually works really well, and it's really clean. So if I change the button text, it's resizing, and I can toggle it to be loading or not. Something longer. Same thing. It's very smooth. But what's interesting to note is that on the layers panel, you see there's this frame around the loading icon, which is unreleased. So this is new and no one's seen it. What we're used to is variants, frames, auto layouts, and then groups. But this is unreleased, so it's not something that's really accessible to the general public. So, and because it's still being tested, if something changes, it's not a permanent solution right now. So moving on with my hack, I'll show that it also works. So I can resize the button to be something longer, toggle the text off so it's loading. Or maybe I just want something short, and then I toggle the text off. The button size is the same. So just kind of gonna dive into the solution. So I put my text button, put my auto layout container around it. I'll personally prefer to swap the colors. And then from here, you'll see I want to grab this icon and put it in. And what I'm going to do is change it to a vertical auto layout. And I want to center it so that the icon would be centered. And then specifically for my text, I'm also going to add another auto layout to the text, and I'll just give no padding. And so what I want to do here is I'll change it to fixed height, and I can actually edit the auto layout frame. So something simple is just change it to a 1. You can also use 0 if you type 0.00001. I don't know how many zeros you need, but it's very easy to do, but 1's just much simpler. So I'm going to use 1 for this example. And then when I want to hide the text, I'm going to just make the entire auto layout container have an opacity of 0. And so you'll see it's a little off right now, but that's something we can fix for sure. So we go here, the parent container has space between the text frame 2 and the icon as 10. So let's just set that to 0 real quick. Now it looks a little more centered, still not perfect. You can see here, it's a little off right here. So what I can also do is manually adjust the padding. So maybe I'll do something like have this all 0, have this one a little taller, or have the bottom a little with a little more padding. And you'll see I can kind of control that through this mean. So if I want it to be pretty symmetrical, I'll just adjust, I'll add an extra padding of 1 here. And now you see there's, it's symmetrically perfect in the center. If I want to like edit those values, like obviously I can play with the values here. But the reason I'm adding 1 here is because this auto layout container frame, it has a height of 1, so it's taking up that space. But if I had to put 0.001 to make it 0, I probably wouldn't even need to adjust the padding because it would be dead center. And then from here, I'll grab it, make another copy. Instead of having the text with the opacity of 0, I'll change this back to 100. I can make the icon opacity of 0. And I also want to lock it so you can't actually select it. So that will definitely help. And same thing here, I'll lock the text frame. And so when I have these two, you'll see maybe I don't like where the text is positioned because it's not centered. So I can do the same thing with the frame here and add auto layout padding of 2. Now I can check it and it's centered. From here, I can create multiple components and combine them as variants. This will have the property I'll just name it as loading. This will be no, and this is yes. So hoping this will work. So I duplicate a copy. Loading looks good on the default state. So let's try an edge case of very short. Looking good. Let's try something super long. Something super long. And there you have it. A little Figma hack by adjusting the height of your frames. But the content's still going to take up the same space.